Blog Talk Radio.
If you want the best technology to protect your home, then choose Alarm.com. Alarm.com is the leading technology provider of smarter home security. Over 2.3 million subscribers trust Alarm.com and its authorized dealers to protect their homes and families every day. Alarm.com's dedicated connection to your home is more secure and reliable than traditional systems. Their technology offers unique proactive safeguards so your home responds automatically in an emergency to keep you and your loved ones safe. Learn more about the benefits of smarter home security. Visit alarm.com/radio today.
Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews. Welcome to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews has been giving an up-close, behind-the-scenes look at franchising and entrepreneurship. Listen to interviews with franchisers, franchisees, franchise authors, franchise experts, and attorneys. And now, welcome your host, Marty McDermott, and Franchise Interviews.
Hi everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 9 years we've been asking the entrepreneurs who own one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and we have a great show today. We're meeting with Jeff Garrett, the founder of Lumberjacks. And as traditional families become less of the norm, creatively themed restaurants are gaining widespread popularity. We're going to talk to Jeff about that in just a moment on Franchise Interviews. So stick around because we have a great show.
The Stone Coat Franchise Opportunity. Are you looking for a unique and lucrative franchise opportunity? If so, take a look at Stone Coat. With a patented process which creates a true stone finish on almost any wall or ceiling, Stone Coat is a true game-changing product in the multi-billion-dollar construction industry. Stone Coat is applied faster, cleaner, and cheaper than conventional quarried stone, which saves both time and money. With advantages in remodel and new construction of both residential and commercial projects, Stone Coat is a true crossover product. The Stone Coat franchise opportunity provides a low startup cost, low operating expenses, comprehensive training, ongoing support, and no royalty payments. For more information on the Stone Coat franchise opportunity, go to www.stonecoatfranchise.com. That's www.stonecoatfranchise.com, or call us at 972-380-2700. That's 972-380-2700.
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com, or call us at 561-385-3032.
Hi, this is Connie McDermott, Administrative Assistant for Franchise Interviews, LLC, and you're listening to Franchise Interviews.
Franchise Interviews. From Easton, Pennsylvania to Sydney, Australia, you're listening to Franchise Interviews. Franchise Interviews.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a very special edition of Franchise Interviews, where for over 9 years we've been asking the entrepreneurs one-on-one. I'm your host, Marty McDermott. I'm the president of Franchise Interviews, and as we were saying earlier, we have a great show today. We're meeting with Jeff Garrett, the founder of Lumberjacks. And as traditional families become less of the norm, creatively themed restaurants are gaining widespread popularity. Hi, Jeff. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure, Jeff. We would like to ask our guests, where are you calling from this morning, Jeff?
Calling from Redding, California, home of the first Lumberjacks and where we have our corporate office.
That's fantastic. I know it's a little bit early there, so I appreciate you coming on today, Jeff.
You got it.
That's great. You know, we started the show over, it's almost 10 years now, Jeff, and we learned that, every franchise like yours has a story. When I was on your website last week and I was reading about your story, I thought it was rather interesting. Maybe you could, describe the history of Lumberjacks.
Well, back in 2002, we bought a place called Lions. It was a franchise. We bought out of bankruptcy court, and we had to keep it at least 2 years. And during that time, with them serving small portion, bad, poor quality food, my wife and I figured out that this wasn't going to be the concept for us.
Right.
So we thought of a great name, Lumberjacks, where the big boys eat. And growing up in Redding, California, where the timber business was a big part of our community, we knew it would be a great fit. So we knew we had to serve great quality food, big portions at a reasonable price. So we did a major remodel, and in July 2004, we opened our first Lumberjacks.
That's fantastic.
So, after we opened the doors the first day, we knew we had a great thing going. So I wanted to expand this. So I met a guy named Scott Bailey that was running multiple restaurants. So he quit his job. I made him a partner, and he moved to a place called Yuba City, where we opened our second location. Well, we thought Redding was a busy restaurant, but Yuba City opened even busier than our Redding location. So we opened 4 more locations, and we started franchising.
That's fantastic. It's a great story. I was going to say, Jeff, there's something about Lumberjacks, too, isn't there? I remember reading on the website, is that, the initial thought is that everyone loves Lumberjacks, wants to be like them. And I thought that was very clever. I said, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. The lumber industry is a big part of who we are.
Right. That's interesting. It really is. It's great. How do you describe Lumberjacks? If you were and your business partner were at a franchise show, Jeff, and someone came up to your booth, and the typical question is always, so what do you guys do? How do you typically describe the concept from there?
Well, Lumberjacks is a family diner serving large home-style cooking at a reasonable price. It's a themed restaurant with a log cabin experience serving quality food.
And themed restaurants seem to be the new thing out there. Again, we've been doing the show a long time now, so I get to see a lot of the trends that seem to be taking place. And this seems to be like a popular concept now, is the themed restaurants, isn't it, Jeff?
Yes. A themed restaurant is, themed restaurant, you could do so much with it. When people walk in, it's experience. It's not just you walk in just a restaurant eating.
And, there's more to Lumberjacks too. I was even on the website, and it seems like in terms of branding, I saw lots of potentials with the Lumberjacks brand, especially as the concept grows over time, with people, I guess, buying shirts and all sorts of items related to Lumberjacks. Yes,
we do have all kinds of stuff. We have shirts, we have cups, we have hats. Mm-hmm. There's so much you could do with the theme Lumberjacks.
It is. It's very clever. Could you describe, for someone who's never been in a Lumberjacks, Jeff, how would you describe, the inside of it and the outside of it, if you could paint a picture?
Well, let me say, when you drive up to a Lumberjacks, you'll see a 12-foot statue of a Lumberjacks with an axe over his shoulder. And as you walk up to the door, you'll see an axe as a door handle. So as you open the door and go through the front door, you'll feel like you're in a log cabin with hardwood floors, chairs made out of logs, old salt artifacts everywhere, and pictures display of Lumberjacks. It's a warm feeling when you walk into one of our Lumberjacks.
That's great. And as you were mentioning, it's an experience. How is the food reflective of the Lumberjack theme, Jeff?
Well, we serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Okay.
We have quality, huge portions at affordable prices. Our food is made from scratch, and we really believe in quality and big portions at Lumberjack. So that's what we serve.
That's great. So here's the trick question: is what's your favorite when you go into your own restaurants, Jeff? Is there any particular item that you like to order?
You know what I love? It's a newer item we started. It's like a country fried steak, but we take a real New York steak, we dip it in our homemade batter, we fry it, and then we put it over biscuits and gravy. Then we throw gravy over top of that, and it is probably, it's similar to a chicken fried steak, but it's a real New York steak, and it is amazing.
So I'm hungry already, Jeff. I had a feeling.
Me too. Let's go eat at a Lumberjacks.
That's great. So when you started the concept, you've had a lot of different experiences, Jeff. And one of the questions we like to ask guests like yourself is, what's been one of the most interesting things that's happened to you since launching Lumberjacks? I'm sure there's hundreds of stories, but is there anything particular that stands out over the years?
Honestly, I believe it's our growth and our sales.
Yeah.
As the restaurant industry struggles, Lumberjacks has thrived with sales increasing year after year. I really believe a big part of our growth is our culture. From day one, is to pay. We pay a little bit more for our food, but we pass great meals off to our customers. That's
great. The majority of our listeners, they're looking to buy a franchise, Jeff. And so, what types of characteristics do you typically look for, when someone says they're interested in becoming a franchisee?
We look for experience. Someone that, they own their own restaurant or they managed a restaurant. With that experience, they understand the restaurant business, knowing that if you give good quality food, reasonable price, great service, and a clean place, people will come back time after time.
Yeah, and I think that experience is important, isn't it, Jeff, particularly in the restaurant industry? Because, a lot of people that are looking to get into franchising, sometimes someone would go into a Lumberjacks and says, wow, I wish I owned one of these, but they don't really know sometimes. There's a lot of behind the scenes, isn't there, into, running a Lumberjacks that people just don't get to see. They just get to see, it's crowded, people are having a great time and things like that. But, I can understand why that experience is important, isn't it?
Yes. Very important.
That's great. So what's the training like then, Jeff? Once you decide that you do like them, they like you, and they do want to come aboard and become a franchisee, do they typically come out then to California, the headquarters? Is that how it works?
Yeah, we have a 4 to 5 week training, and we like to have a kitchen manager and general manager. They learn everything from dishwashing, cooking, bussing, waiting tables, and managing the restaurant. After they're done training and ready to open their own store, we'll send our team to ensure the best opening possible. And
right.
we won't leave until they feel like we can leave and the store is running perfect. So we really push on a great opening, because I think a great opening sets the tone for the future.
Yeah, I think that's well said. So if Lumberjacks, I imagine you're open 7 days a week, and there's long hours during the course of a day. If you could paint the picture of what is a typical day like then as a franchisee, Jeff?
You know what? A typical day for a franchise is enjoy talking to the customers, enjoy talking to your employees. The operation is set up. We set up the franchise is there to ensure that all systems are in place and all our recipes are followed. And after all that's done, we like a manager or a franchisee owner to enjoy being there. Just get to know your guests.
Right. Absolutely. It's so important. And I like how you mentioned even, the employees is just as important, having that relationship with your employees. A happy employee usually yields a happy customer, doesn't it?
You know what? Yeah, employees are everything. And you said it perfect. A happy employee, you'll have happy guests.
Absolutely. So, in studying your background, Jeff, and it was interesting. I remember when I was reading about you, and you came up with the concept, it was like one of those, they called it like a wake up in the middle of the night moments. You thought of the whole Lumberjacks concept, which I thought was fantastic. And you seem like you have all the traits and characteristics of an entrepreneur. So when we have someone on the show like yourself, we like to ask you, what advice would you give our guest in their quest to buy a franchise? Because there's so much out there today, and we've found that, a lot of our listeners to the show, a lot of them don't even know where to begin because there's so much out there. So what advice would you give to them in their quest to buy a franchise? Well,
look for a franchise that's proven and growing at a great rate. And Lumberjacks is one of those concepts, with proven sales year over year. And last year, we increased sales by 10%. And in the restaurant industry, 3% is good, but 10% is amazing.
That's significant.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. That's great. So, as one of the founders of the company, I can ask you, where do you see Lumberjacks in the future, Jeff? If you could look into a crystal ball, like maybe 3 to 5 years down the road, where do you see it?
Well, right now we have 8 locations in California and 1 in Nevada, so we're looking to expand into Oregon, Texas, and we want to open more stores in California and Nevada. And we're not rolling out other states, but we'd like to open, about 25 to 50 stores in the next 5 years. That's our plan.
Great. That's fantastic. And it must be a wonderful feeling for you, to, have one of those moments of just, thinking of this concept in the middle of the night and to see where Lumberjacks is at today. I imagine it must be an incredible feeling for you, isn't it?
It is. Oh, it's my dream, like a dream coming true. Yeah, I love it.
That's wonderful.
Love it.
So, what do you look for then in your new locations, Jeff? I'm sure you have like a set of specific items that you look for, in saying that this location would be great for a Lumberjacks.
Yeah, we do. We look for second generation restaurants. We really believe keeping the costs down as best as we can. We like to be next to busy highways or populated cities.
Right.
And with our new look, we have a new look with a lot of juniper, blue pine, and I believe the experience when you walk into our new look is an experience that you don't get at other restaurants.
That's great. You mentioned a lot of the different benefits of becoming a Lumberjacks franchisee, but for those aspiring franchipreneurs that have kind of like limited down to maybe 3 franchises, and of course Lumberjacks would be one of them, Jeff. How would you what would be your pitch, I guess you could say, in choosing Lumberjacks versus someone else that's out there?
Good question. As a smaller concept, Lumberjacks is able to treat, each franchise like a partner and work together to grow the best possible concept out there. Working with Lumberjacks, you'll see that your input and your ideas are very, very valuable to our growth. So, I would choose a smaller concept. It's like you're part of the team. You're not just a number. you're someone helping grow this concept.
And that's important to a lot of, franchisees as well, Jeff. There's a lot of franchises out there. I don't want to mention any names, but, you don't really have much of an input because the franchise has become a monster. I'm talking like 30,000, 40,000 units. So there's not much. You've just become a number at that point. Franchisee number 13,207. And, I think there is a great benefit to, being part, of a Lumberjacks franchisee where they get to talk to someone like yourself or your business partner, I think there's a lot to be said about that, isn't there?
Oh, that's huge. I've been in bigger franchises, and you're nothing. With a small franchise like ours, you have my number. You can call me anytime, ask me any question, and we're partners with you. We want you to do the best as you can so you open other restaurants.
That's wonderful. What's the best way, Jeff, for our listeners to get more information on becoming a franchisee? Is the website or any numbers that you'd like them to go to? You can plug those if you like.
Yeah, the website, Lumberjacks Franchise or lumberjacksrestaurant.com, and we have a form that you can fill out, and we'll contact you.
That's wonderful. And I want to thank you again for coming on the show, Jeff. I think this is a wonderful concept, and I can't wait till you guys finally hit the eastern Pennsylvania area. I'm really looking forward to, trying out your restaurant one of these days.
Thank you, and thank you for having me this morning.
It's been my pleasure, Jeff. And we'll be right back with more franchise interviews.
The Stone Coat Franchise Opportunity. Are you looking for a unique and lucrative franchise opportunity? If so, take a look at Stone Coat. With a patented process which creates a true stone finish on almost any wall or ceiling, Stone Coat is a true game-changing product in the multi-billion-dollar construction industry. Stone Coat is applied faster, cleaner, and cheaper than conventional quarried stone, which saves both time and money. With advantages in remodel and new construction of both residential and commercial projects, Stone Coat is a true crossover product. The Stone Coat franchise opportunity provides a low startup cost, low operating expenses, comprehensive training, ongoing support, and no royalty payments. For more information on the Stone Coat franchise opportunity, go to www.stonecoatfranchise.com. That's www.stonecoatfranchise.com, or call us at 972-380-2700. That's 972-380-2700.
Today's great quote in franchising is being brought to you by
Franchise Teacher.
Would you like to know how to franchise your concept or grow your franchise business?
Meet the experts at Franchise Teacher.
The goal of Franchise Teacher is to teach, coach, consult, and advise. The team of experts at Franchise Teacher will evaluate your business model and present you with a winning business strategy.
Franchise Teacher will help you decide whether or not your concept works and if it's franchisable. Franchise Teacher is proud to have over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors.
Franchise Teacher are developers of over a dozen franchise systems, which include brick and mortar as well as home-based concepts of nearly 3,000 combined franchise locations.
Whether you need to add more units or get more customers, Franchise Teacher can help. We will teach.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn our proven system.
Coach.
Franchise Teacher will help you provide a game plan to succeed.
Consult.
Franchise Teacher will make sure you stay on track.
And advise.
Franchise Teacher will help you learn from our over 30 years of experience in franchising as both franchisees and franchisors. Take advantage of our free, no-obligation phone consultation. Simply go to franchiseteacher.com or call us at 561-385-3032.
That's franchiseteacher.com. Or call us at 561-385-3032.
Hi everyone, this is Marty McDermott from Franchise Interviews, and welcome to another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising, which podcast you get to hear
a great quote in franchising. You know, we've been hosting franchise interviews many years now. In fact, this year is going to be our 10th year and 500th show, and during that time we've had some incredible quotes on our show. One of my habits since hosting franchise interviews is I pick out one show to listen to every single day, and that's the great thing about a podcast is you can go back and listen to the old shows from like 9 years ago, 5 years ago, or even yesterday. And, you know, I always find something interesting for our Great Quotes and Franchising podcast. And most recently, I was listening to an interview that we did a couple years ago with Craig Slavin, who is at the time, he was a 45-year veteran to franchising and just full of knowledge. And he had this wonderful quote. He said, just because you can afford the airplane doesn't mean you should be the pilot. And he explains why and how this all pertains to franchising. So here we go with Craig Slavin of Franchise Navigator.
With so many concepts, this is where your service comes in. When I was reading about your background, Craig, it sounds like you certainly discovered a need in the market. It's as you were saying earlier, it's a nightmare for the franchisor and the franchisee to both get involved with each other if it's not going to work out. So you created this interesting concept called Connect Me. It kind of segues into my next question. With so many different franchise concepts, how does somebody who's interested in getting into franchise, how do they select the right one?
Well, that's a great question. And my favorite expression is, just because somebody can afford the airplane doesn't mean they're qualified to be the pilot.
Wow, that's great.
So,
I'm going to have to use that on the show.
My pleasure, by all means. And what I found was that people bought franchises for the wrong reasons. And what gave me that insight was really two things. One, when I was asked to provide expert testimony, litigation support when there's conflict, and I would listen to both parties. And it's sort of like that song, everybody's right, everybody's wrong. You know, there is no right, there is no wrong. There's three sides to every story. And then what happened was, it was really a very interesting aha. Having been a franchisor, having sold franchises myself and consulted to hundreds of companies, we'd always scratch our heads and wonder after we sold a franchise, you know, is this going to be a good fit? How are we going to know if this person's a good fit for this model? And you generally don't know until after the fact. And after the fact, if it's not a good fit, it's not a good thing. So we looked at whether or not we could be predictive in the recruitment and the selection and the awarding of franchises to people, because it's sort of like walking into the vegetable section of the grocery store. You don't have just onions. You don't have just potatoes. You've got a wide range, a wide variety to choose from, and the same thing is true about people and human nature. Everybody has their own value system. They have their own strengths, their own weaknesses, skills, behavior. So we looked at how can we be predictive. And I assembled in the late 80s a team of industrial, clinical, organizational, and behavioral psychologists, along with some key franchising executives. And we looked at what is it we're looking for and how can we find it, and whether or not there's a tool out there that we could use to measure the skills, the values, the behavior, entrepreneurship, leadership. And the fact of the matter is, in real-life situations, we utilized some of these tools, and the tools were great tools, but they were generally designed to recruit employees and determine whether or not somebody in one cubicle is going to get along with everybody else in the 38 other cubicles surrounding them. It had very little, if any, application to managing, running, and executing a business model. So we developed our own tool, and that tool is called Franchise Navigator. It's a skills, values, and behavioral assessment tool. It takes, now that it's online, it takes approximately 8 minutes to complete. And what it does is it actually identifies the skills of the particular particular individual, what their value system is, because that's the basis for making decisions, what their behavior is, how they're going to function in a leadership capacity, in operational efficiencies, customer service, people development, delegation, time management. And we now have approximately 150 franchise organizations where we've gone in and we've actually benchmarked their existing franchise operators, and then these companies, using their own performance metrics, identify if they're a high performer, a mid performer, or a poor performer. We have a team of independent statisticians that then do an entire statistical analysis of the data, and from that, we're able to create a high performer profile for either single unit or multi-unit for each of these companies that indicates on a scale of 0 to 100% in 4 different dimensions where the high performers score, where they fall. All inbound candidates, new candidates, are given the same assessment tool, and within 2 seconds, an email is sent to the franchisor that graphically, in color and through a chart, identifies the individual, how they compare to the high performer profile, and whether or not they're a strong candidate, an acceptable candidate, or a poor candidate for that particular franchise. So it goes beyond criteria of money, location, and industry preference, and it actually goes into, can this person execute the business model, be the extension of the brand in that particular market, and is a good fit. Well, Marty,
a lot of work has gone into this.
A lot of work, a lot of time, and a lot of money.
Yes.
We're getting ready to launch version 8, which we're going to release at the IFA convention coming up in a month. And it's going to give us even greater detail and insights into an individual on a predictive basis. We even know how these profiles respond, how individuals respond during various stages of the process of becoming, and then once they are a franchisee, so that we can train the franchisors that it's not about the products. It's not about the locations. It's about the people. The strength of market share comes from not how good the product is, but how strong the people are who are delivering it. So what happened with Connect Me was we realized we have information that nobody else on the planet does. We know who these companies are looking for. We know the geographic area. We know the liquid capital requirements. So we reversed the process, and we created Connect Me, which is sort of like the Match.com, the eHarmony of buying a franchise. We offer it for free. People can take the survey, and within a matter of seconds, they can see their profile. They can download their own personal profile report, and they can identify very quickly and see what companies they match up to, what profiles their profile resembles. And it's only compared to the high performers of each of these brands.
Wow, this is truly, it truly is a win-win situation, isn't it, Craig? I mean, again, it was interesting when you were telling the story from the franchisor perspective, that you sell a franchise, and there must be, and again, I've never done this before, but I can imagine there must be this tremendous pressure, or hope anyway, that the franchisee does perform and that they are a match for the company, because if they're not, I guess, and you know this better than I do, it could be a nightmare for the franchisor, can it?
It is a nightmare, and the mistake that a lot of companies make is they take a one-size-fits-all approach to growing their business. So they'll treat one particular profile the same way that they'll treat another profile, the same way they'll treat another profile, without realizing that what they're doing is they're creating a disconnect. Because if they're talking to somebody who's a very high, what we call associator, that person is going to buy the franchise because of safety, security, because they want to become part of a family, and they need to be trained and developed and communicated in that way because that's their value system. Another profile, a high influencer, is going to buy a franchise for the prestige, for the bragging rights, so that they can spread their peacock feathers and say, look at what I'm doing. Well, if you talk to that person about safety and security, there's a disconnect. And if you talk to the high associator about income and prestige, there's a disconnect. So what happens is that the companies, if they use the navigator, if they use the assessment tool, have the ability to modify and adapt their tools, their training programs, their communication programs to the needs and the desires of the individual, as opposed to force-feeding one process to them all, because it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. You have to write a book on this topic, Craig.
If you'd like to hear that whole interview with Craig Slavin of Franchise Navigator, all you have to do is go to franchiseinterviews.com. You can go to our franchises by category page and then go to our franchises by services page. And you'll find them there. You can also go to franchises listed alphabetically, and you'll find them under Franchise Navigator. And lastly, we'd just like to thank everyone for making this podcast such a huge success. It's hard to imagine now we're approaching our 10th year, a whole decade, and 500 shows. It's really hard to imagine. But again, we want to thank everyone for your support, and we'll see you again soon with another edition of Great Quotes in Franchising from Franchise Interviews. Take care, everyone.